Mongraal and Mr. Savage have a massive hole in their gameplay, but what I saw from their qualifiers makes me think that they have what it takes to qualify to not only grand finals, but to the global championship LAN. But they need to sort out a couple things first. This is going to be a constructive breakdown of everything I believe they do really well, and the few things they could tweak to be even better. And let's admit it, these guys are pros, the top of the top, but even so, they don't play every scenario perfectly. And the first scenario identified is their early game. They actually just decided to go to a new drop spot that is different than their past 2 seasons. They used to land at this drone spot, which is still in the game, it hasn't been removed, but they decided to switch it up after not qualifying to grands last season. They're now landing in this wasteland, sandy region, and it's not even really a POI. It's just south of Mount Olympus, and they're getting bits and pieces of loot from random chests, small houses, and small gas station sort of POIs. And first off, I want to say I like the fact that they're doing this. When you land at a bigger region of the area and not a specific POI, that means if you're contested, you can find some random chest laying around to get looted up. Although the one drawback is your loot path is more in the open, so you need to be really careful about blocking off your angles and being very aware. I feel like I've talked about this in a lot of videos, but Kanata does it well, and the one thing I saw Mongraal and Savage do is just not being aware. They're bouncing around, looting a bunch of different places, going into old POIs like Mount Olympus, and then they get surprise attacked.
There's a team in this roof.
Yeah, I'm going. Trying to survive. I'm only in like 3 seconds.
Their blunder here was just assuming that it was free, and it wasn't. But honestly, I can't give him too much grief for something like that. They are just camping, and he got surprised. But this next one, though, is completely on Mongraal and Savage. I want you to take a look at both of their mats. They both have really good mats, close to cap, and they have Fizz for rotate and Nitro for rotate. But for some reason, they decided Nitro into this box, and they both get hit so hard. Mongraal is literally like 1 HP, and Savage is about 50. Now they have to use their spare meds and burn through their mats now that they're being lobby focused by everyone on the mountain. Mr. Savage recovers to about 75, but Mongraal never gets any white health back. I'm not sure if Mr. Savage didn't fully realize this when he was IGLing, but he did kind of lead them into a trap.
Just key this guy,
I don't have nitro.
I'm replacing wall. I'm pushing in.
Marks. Oh.
So while Mongraal did kind of just bot run in with his SMG out and didn't make any movements whatsoever and died, it is also on Savage for calling a key move when Mongraal is super low health. And again, I understand if they need to key for a refresh, but at this point they had pretty good mats and enough for rotation. They were really just lacking on health, and a move like W King isn't necessarily going to improve that. Yes, you might find meds on their body, but you also very well could not and just lose some more. On the flip side though, Savage solo play is so clean to watch. He is a solo right now, so he's kind of playing sneaky. Mongraal and his coach are telling him what to do. So he pops this Nitro, blasts through his wall, runs over the entire endgame crowd, and then bases up right at the front side of zone. And this is where the pro mindset differs from the casual mindset. I feel like if I had done this play, I would have just boxed up and maybe continued to tarp further into zone. But what Savage notices is there is a full pre-built tarp next to him. So he breaks through it and claims that old tarp as his own, so he doesn't have to waste any more mats. Not only is he reserving mats, but he's finding opportunities to refarm. He only has about 100 wood left, so he uses the last of it to make these 2 boxes and refarm on these trees. Of course, his mats stay at about the same place or maybe even go down slightly, but he's also gaining 2 boxes out of it, which give him the opportunity to get a vital refresh. It was a smart play. He constricted the middle zone where everyone on backside had to rotate through and got an easy pick. He utilizes the same principle to get another vital refresh, but this time he shows how to do it from a different layer. He gets a tile in front of the box above him, then edits his cone to block the enemy's escape, swings at his wall to bait him, and then cleans him up for an easy refresh. He unfortunately goes down not too long after, but the next few games they play gives me serious hope that this team could qualify for the global championship. And I don't know, if you believe that too, please drop a like and invest in the channel. Let's get into it. So they're moving up to the Mount Olympus region, and Mr. Savage knows that someone is nearby, but he doesn't know how close they are. His first blunder is not concealing his footsteps. I'm assuming he thought they were a little further away so he had more room to run, but he doesn't. The enemy is super close, and as soon as he starts to run, they both see each other's footsteps and they're not able to get early damage on them.
Hey, run for me. 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Savage calls out a 3-2-1, but it's already too late and they don't get any more damage. So they gave up their tactical advantage of knowing that the enemy was there just because they didn't crouch for a little longer. And this almost would be a 100% blunder through and through, but Mongraal was able to get a lot of damage in on both people with his DMR. And even more impressively, he got this damage after they already found out that they were stalking them. So at this point, it's not that bad. Their only blunder was not crouching for a second longer, but they still got the damage input anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think the main blunder and the bigger thing they needs to fix is just the overall region awareness. They are right by the new region where most of the medallions spawn, and they're right by Mount Olympus where some big name people drop. Not to mention that all of these outskirt POIs like Brawler's Battleground and Mount Olympus, they rotate right through this area. And I think that's obvious by 1, the team they're fighting, 2, the fact that they're there, and 3, that a third party does eventually roll up. And I don't necessarily have a problem with pushing a fight like that after they got that damage from Mongraal. The bigger problem I have is that the fact that they were just not equipped to handle this fight. Once Mr. Savage did that aggressive nitro play and got hit big, they really had no position to be fighting this. It's very early game, so their loot was bad, they didn't have a lot of heals, and they had hardly no mats. And on the flip note, to play devil's advocate, I do understand the point of view of wiping a team in your region so you can loot the rest of it worry-free. And that is a great point if you're on the edge of the map, but when you are in a more central rotate path, it doesn't make as much sense. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to it while you've been watching this clip, but the amount of time Mongraal cancels his reload is ridiculous. I'm not gonna go too much into depth on that right here, but it is a huge grief of mine throughout this whole thing that gets them killed. And if you just think I'm being nitpicky or you don't think I know what I'm talking about, Mongraal and Savage actually learned from this exact mistake. Only a couple games later, they were put in the exact same situation at the exact same spot. They got big damage in, but this time they decided to back off. Just watch.
Leave it.
Alright, let's leave it. You can use a... Come to me, I'm gonna use a nitro when we run back.
And this is part of the reason why I think they can genuinely make it to grand finals, but then to global champions. Their mistakes are few and far in between, but when they have them, they're able to correct them very quickly. I said they could work on their awareness, and then they proved me they had situation identification. And in this instance, they actually had more mats and better loot, but they did decide to break off, and that was probably the right decision because they got super far in this game. Something you need to pay attention to is Mongraal and Savage are always over on Storm Surge by like 1,000. It's crazy. A lot of people be clowning Mongraal for being rusty and taking all this time off, but his aim never suffered. He can hit people out of the air, do anything you need. Although the one thing where the rush shows is the Gatekeeper shotgun, and I talked about it earlier, but he can never find the right time to reload. So he starts the fight off by trying to reload, but canceling it right before it goes through, which honestly, I've done the same thing too before. Although the thing that's grinding my gears when I see this clip, he tries to pop the cola first, which if you don't know, heals over time, kind of like a slurp juice. And I know you can't hear it, but the whole clip Mongraal is giving callouts about how they're using nitro.
They have nitro. He's nitroing in again.
Yeah, we need...
Oh.
So if you think they're gonna nitro into your box, would you rather have ammo to be able to shoot them or pop a non-instantaneous med? I would choose the reload. You need to get that counter damage, but Mongraal keeps trying that cola and they get sent back to the lobby.
Fuck, man.
Use either of these MF's codes to Legends, or if you just like to lend your creator code use to a small timer like myself, instead of the Fortnite Giants, that's code reidtheninja in the item shop. And yeah, we're still a pre-20k channel, so this is your chance to invest early and be on the come up with me. That'd be greatly appreciated. Drop a like, and this is the next pro breakdown you should watch. It goes over why I think Clix is winning this FNCS, and it actually doesn't even have to do with his first place opens performance, believe it or not. I'm telling you, I love Mongraal and Savage's chance, but I think Clix slightly edges them. And if you'd rather learn how to play like the pros instead of just watching them, these are the top 3 vital tips to play consistently well in tournaments.